Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The animal shelter was a noisy, bustling place. Barking echoed everywhere, mingling with yelps, the slamming of cage doors, and the murmur of staff busy feeding, cleaning, and comforting the animals. But amidst this chaos, a small brown dog with deep, melancholic brown eyes remained motionless in his cage. He was called Max, and he seemed almost invisible, unseen by everyone. Visitors walked past his cage without a glance, drawn instead to the boisterous puppies or the larger dogs jumping with excitement. Max had never been adopted. Every day, he watched other dogs leave the shelter, carried off by enthusiastic families, while he remained alone, his bright eyes betraying a silent sadness. He clung to a small glimmer of hope each time a new family walked through the door, but the hope always turned to disappointment. His meager daily walks with the volunteers were no longer enough to fill the void of waiting. That morning, the sun timidly pierced through the large, dusty windows. A little girl entered the shelter, hand in hand with her mother. She had brown curls that fell over her shoulders, wore a slightly wrinkled yellow dress, and pink sandals. But what was most striking was her gentle, curious gaze, and the smile that lit up her innocent face. While her mother chatted with the receptionist, the little girl slipped away quietly and approached the row of cages. She stopped in front of Max. Unlike the other children who hurried past laughing and moving away, she stayed there, silent. She watched Max for a few moments, then reached her small hand through the bars. The dog backed away slightly, wary, but didn't look away. With infinite patience and natural gentleness, the little girl murmured a few words incomprehensible to him, but filled with a warmth he immediately felt. Max moved forward slowly, sniffing the outstretched palm, then rested his head against it, trembling slightly. It was a simple gesture, but for Max, it was as if the world had just reached out to him for the first time. At that precise moment, the refuge vanished around them. The noises, the smells, and the incessant movement became secondary. In that brief, suspended instant, a fragile yet powerful bond had formed. Max understood that he was no longer alone, that he had finally found someone who truly saw him. And the little girl, deep in her heart, felt that she had just met a friend for life, a companion who would change her life as much as hers would change hers. That day, in the shelter where he always felt ignored, Max discovered that a simple gesture could change an entire life. And this innocent encounter would trigger a series of events that would forever transform the destinies of this dog and this little girl. The next morning, the shelter seemed brighter than usual. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting golden patterns on the concrete floor. Max, true to his routine, was already awake in his cage, watching the volunteers come and go. But something had changed within him, a little shiver of anticipation ran through his paws every time someone passed near his cage. Shortly after opening time, the little girl returned, this time with her mother who had agreed to give her some time to choose a dog. Her face lit up when she saw Max. Without hesitation, she approached, placed her hand on the bars and said softly, "Hi there, do you want to come with me?" Max felt a mixture of excitement and mistrust. He sniffed the air, then let out a small, almost imperceptible moan, enough for the girl to hear. She smiled and leaned down to speak to him at his level. "I know you're shy, but I'll take care of you. I promise." The mother watched the scene with a tender smile. She understood that it wasn't an impulsive choice, her daughter had a gift for seeing goodness where others didn't. After a moment of silence, the mother turned to the shelter employee. "We're going to adopt him. He's the one." A volunteer approached, gently opening the cage. Max hesitated for a moment, but the little girl's soft voice and outstretched hand reassured him. He came out slowly, walking on the cold ground, but as soon as his paws touched the sidewalk by the entrance, he gave a little joyful jump, wagging his tail with an energy he hadn't shown for months. The little girl burst out laughing. "You're amazing, Max," she said, stroking his back. The dog responded with a soft bark, almost like a thank you. This simple yet deeply moving moment marked the beginning of a new life for Max. He had finally found someone who understood him, someone who saw beyond his tired and lonely appearance. And for the little girl, he had become much more than a dog. He was a friend, a confidant, and soon, an indispensable member of her family. On that day, an unbreakable bond was formed, ready to face the challenges, adventures, and moments of happiness that life would hold in store for them. Max had never known anything but the shelter. The cold floor, the cramped cages, and the constant noise had been his daily reality for months. So, when he entered the little girl's house, he was immediately overwhelmed by a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The room seemed enormous, filled with new sounds and smells. The air was fragrant with freshly baked cookies and flowers on the living room table, a stark contrast to the metallic, earthy odor of the shelter. The little girl, whose name was Lily, accompanied him to each room, gently guiding him with her soft voice and reassuring gestures. "Look, Max, this is your room," she said, opening a small door that led to a corner specially prepared for him. A soft cushion sat in the center, surrounded by toys and a few treats. Max approached, sniffed, and then settled down cautiously. The first sensation of comfort made him prick up his ears and wag his tail slightly. Yet, despite all the warmth and attention, a touch of worry lingered. The slightest noise in the house made him jump, the ticking of the clock, the creaking of the floorboards, the hum of the old refrigerator. But each time, Lily was there. She sat beside him, speaking softly, stroking his back, and promising him he had nothing to fear. When night fell, Lily and Max found themselves in the little girl's room. She had decided to leave the door open so he wouldn't feel alone. Max settled onto his cushion, but his gaze kept searching for Lily's silhouette. Seeing that he was still a little worried, she placed her hand on his head and whispered, "It's all right, Max, you're safe now." This simple touch was enough to soothe the dog. He rested his head on the cushion and closed his eyes, feeling for the first time in a long time the warmth of a home and the security of true love. He dreamed of running around the garden, long walks, and endless cuddles, imagining the life he would now share with Lily. That first night was much more than a rest for Max. It marked the end of his solitary past and the beginning of a new life, made of tenderness, discoveries, and shared moments that would gradually seal their unbreakable bond. The next morning, Max woke up with renewed energy. The memory of his first night warm and safe had filled him with a curiosity he had never felt before. As soon as Lily opened the door to take him into the garden, he leaped outside, sniffing every blade of grass and every flower as if he were discovering a whole new world. The garden was spacious, bordered by hedges and colorful flowers, with a majestic old oak tree at its center. Max paused for a moment, fascinated by the butterflies fluttering around the flowers and the birdsong from the branches. Every sound, every movement was a new adventure. Suddenly, he spotted Toby, a small black cat who already belonged to the family. Toby watched him warily from a low windowsill. Hesitantly, Max approached slowly. The cat growled softly, but Lily's reassuring voice eased the tension. "Take it easy, Max, Toby's your friend, you'll see." Max took a cautious step, then another. He sniffed Toby curiously, and the cat, surprised by the gentleness of his approach, relaxed. A few minutes later, they began to play chase around the garden, their clumsy but joyful movements provoking peals of laughter from Lily. Max discovered for the first time that the company of another animal could be as comforting and fun as that of humans. After several laps around the garden, Max sat down under the old oak tree, panting but happy. Lily approached and sat beside him, offering him a small biscuit. "You see, Max, here you are free to run, to play, and to be yourself. You will never be alone again." Max, resting his head on Lily's lap, understood that every moment of this new world was a chance to show his true character, loyal, affectionate, and full of energy. And as he watched the sun shine through the oak branches, he knew he had just begun a life where he would be loved, protected, and respected. That day marked the beginning of a series of discoveries for Max. From playing in the garden to interacting with Toby, each moment strengthened the special bond between the dog and the little girl. And he was far from seeing all the surprises life had in store for them. A few days after his arrival, Max was starting to get used to his new life. Walks around the neighborhood with Lily had become their favorite ritual. Max loved feeling the fresh air, watching the passers-by, and protecting his girlfriend from any potential danger, even though there was rarely any. One afternoon, while they were walking in the park near the house, a crash rang out a few meters away. A small dog had escaped from a neighboring house and was stuck in the road, amidst the cars. Its panicked barks echoed, and passers-by hesitated to intervene. Without thinking, Max leaped forward. His natural fear had been replaced by a protective instinct. He positioned himself between the dog in danger and the road, barking to attract attention and warn drivers. Lily yelled behind him, but Max didn't back down. His eyes shone with a determination no one had ever seen in him before. Finally, thanks to his barking and his presence, the cars slowed down, allowing the little dog to reach the sidewalk safe and sound. The owner rushed over, warmly thanking Max and Lily. The courage and intelligence of the little brown dog had saved a life. Back home, Lily, tears welling in her eyes, stroked Max for a long time. "You're incredible, Max. I knew you were special," she whispered. Max, tired but proud, rested his head in her lap, enjoying the warmth and pride of his girlfriend. This event revealed a side of Max that no one had ever seen before. Beyond his gentleness and tenderness, he possessed exceptional courage and loyalty. Lily then understood that their bond wasn't limited to games or cuddles. Max was ready to do anything to protect those he loved. That day became a memory etched in both their hearts, a moment when the dog everyone had ignored showed he could transform the lives of those around him. And for Max, it was a revelation. He had finally found his place in the world. A week later, the sky darkened rapidly as Lily and Max played in the garden. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, and the wind began to whistle through the trees. Max, usually carefree, felt the heavy, shifting air and moved closer to Lily, as if to protect her. Suddenly, a violent storm broke. The rain poured down and the wind rattled the shutters of the house. Frightened, Lily ran towards the front door, but a fallen branch blocked her path. Max, seeing his little friend in danger, rushed over. With his small paws, he managed to push the branch just enough for her to get through. Lily then took him in her arms, trembling and grateful. Once inside, Max was shivering slightly from the cold and fear, but his eyes shone with attention. Lily, sitting on the sofa with him beside her, whispered, "Thank you, Max, you're my hero." The dog rested his head on her lap and let her pet him, feeling the safety of home and their bond. This storm, though frightening, only strengthened their bond. Max had shown not only his courage in the face of danger, but also his protective instinct towards Lily. He was no longer the timid, ignored dog from the shelter. He had become an irreplaceable member of her family, ready to face any challenge for her. As the days passed, the storm faded into a distant memory, but its impact on their relationship remained. Max and Lily now knew they could rely on each other, no matter how strong the wind or the rain. And with this newfound confidence, new adventures awaited them, ready to test their courage, loyalty, and unconditional love. A few days after the storm, Max and Lily were enjoying a sunny morning in the garden. Max sniffed every corner, every flower, exploring with insatiable curiosity. Suddenly, he caught a strange smell coming from the neighboring house, an old, somewhat isolated building on the edge of the neighborhood. His ears perked up, and he began to bark softly, attracting Lily's attention. "What's wrong, Max?" she asked, intrigued. The dog ran to the hedge and scanned the property with a determined look. His barking became more insistent. Lily, realizing something was wrong, decided to follow Max. As they approached, they discovered a small opening in the fence, barely visible between the bushes. Max stepped through the gap, and Lily followed cautiously. On the other side, they came upon a startling scene. A thin, frightened dog was locked in a small, dilapidated shelter, clearly forgotten for days. The animal was trembling and gazed at Max and Lily with pleading eyes. Max approached calmly, sniffing the unfamiliar dog. The dog, initially wary, allowed Max to pet it, understanding that he was there to help. Lily, moved, whispered, "Oh no. Poor little thing, we have to do something for him." She ran to get her mother to explain the situation. Within minutes, thanks to the shelter's help and Max's courage, the dog was rescued and taken to safety. Max had once again proven that his vigilance and protective instinct could save lives. But that day, he also discovered that the world was full of secrets and suffering that only those who dared to look closely could see. Back home, Max lay down next to Lily, tired but content. He had not only saved a life, but had also shown Lily that kindness and courage could change the reality of others. It was a lesson she would never forget. Through Max, she understood that compassion could manifest itself in the most unexpected ways. And in Max's heart, a sense of pride and mission was born, to protect those he loved and, whenever he could, those in danger. Life with Lily became more intense and richer every day, and each moment brought them closer, forging an unbreakable bond between them. A few weeks later, Max and Lily had completely grown accustomed to each other. Their days were filled with games, walks, and cuddles, and Max had even learned a few tricks that Lily loved to ask him. But life had a new challenge in store, this time less physical and more emotional. One morning, Lily received the news that her father had to leave on a business trip for several days. The little girl, upset at the thought of being alone with her mother, felt sad and worried. Max, sensing her changing mood, stayed constantly by her side, following her into every room, resting his head on her lap or at her feet to reassure her. That day, Lily decided to take Max for a walk in the park to clear her head. As they played near a pond, a group of larger, noisier dogs approached, drawn by Max. The brown dog, though used to interacting with other animals, felt a new kind of fear at this confrontation. He instinctively backed away, ready to protect himself and Lily. Lily sensed the tension and whispered, "Max, I'm here, you can trust me." Her words and soothing gaze gave Max the courage to step forward. He barked firmly, not out of aggression, but to establish his boundaries. The larger dogs backed away, respecting Max's authority and determination. This moment, though simple, was crucial. It showed Max that the trust between him and Lily went beyond gestures of affection. He could obey her, protect himself, and even face fear with her by his side. Lily, for her part, understood that the bond they shared was not only emotional, but based on loyalty and mutual trust. On the way back, Max walked proudly beside Lily. The sun was setting, casting golden hues over the park. Lily stroked his back and whispered, "Thank you for always being there for me, Max. I know I can always count on you." Max responded with a small, joyful bark and a swish of his tail, aware that their bond had just grown even stronger. This day marked a turning point. They both understood that their friendship was not limited to games and hugs, but that it was based on trust and loyalty, the pillars that would guide them through all the trials to come. One Saturday morning, the neighborhood was bustling with the weekly market. Lily and Max strolled among the colorful stalls, inhaling the aromas of fresh fruit and warm bread. Max, ever curious, stopped regularly to observe the passers-by and sniff out interesting spots. Everything seemed perfect, until a strange noise caught his attention. Near an old warehouse, away from the crowd, Max spotted a small dog tied to a chain, clearly abandoned. The dog was trembling and whimpering softly. Without hesitation, Max rushed over, barking gently to let Lily know he'd found something unusual. Lily followed her dog and saw what had happened. Her heart sank. The little animal was frightened and hungry. But a dilemma arose. The warehouse seemed private and dangerous, and Lily knew she couldn't simply walk in to free the dog without permission. Max, however, remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the dog, as if he understood the urgency of the situation. After a moment's thought, Lily decided to be prudent and sensible. She called the shelter to explain the situation and ask for help. While they waited, Max stayed by the dog's side, comforting him with gentle, reassuring gestures. The dog gradually calmed down, resting his head against Max and offering him his trust, despite his fear. A few minutes later, a volunteer from the shelter arrived with ropes and blankets. Together, they were able to free the little dog and carry him to safety. Max watched the whole process with remarkable attention, as if he were personally overseeing the rescue. Once the dog was safe, Max returned to Lily, wagging his tail with pride and relief. This day showed Lily that Max was not only affectionate and loyal, but also intelligent and possessed a strong sense of protection towards other animals. Their bond grew even stronger. Max was not just a friend or a playmate, he was a true protector, capable of guiding and protecting those in need. When they got home, Lily petted Max and said softly, "You're amazing, Max. I've never met a dog like you." Max responded with a small, joyful bark and a look full of tenderness, aware that he had accomplished something great that day. A few days after the rescue of the chained dog, Max's reputation began to spread throughout the neighborhood. Neighbors, who had initially ignored the small brown dog, were starting to notice him. Some greeted him warmly as he passed by during walks with Lily, and others were already telling the children how Max had helped save the abandoned animal. One afternoon, Lily and Max were walking in the park when a group of children joined them. Curious, they wanted to see the hero dog they had heard about up close. Max, true to form, was friendly and patient, letting the children pet him and play with him. Lily watched the scene in awe. Max wasn't seeking recognition or glory, but his behavior naturally inspired trust and admiration. Suddenly, one of the children pointed out a small kitten stuck in a nearby tree. The kitten was meowing weakly, unable to get down. Without hesitation, Max ran to the tree and barked, attracting the attention of the adults around them. Thanks to his alert, the adults were able to intervene quickly and rescue the kitten. The children applauded, and Max wagged his tail, happy to see that his vigilance had once again helped protect a vulnerable animal. Back home, Lily stroked Max tenderly. "You see, Max, it's not just me who loves you. You touch the lives of so many people, and you show them what it means to be brave and kind." Max rested his head on her lap and closed his eyes, content and at peace. He had discovered that his kindness and courage could make a real difference, far beyond their small home. That day marked a turning point. Max was no longer simply the shy, overlooked dog at the shelter. He had become a symbol of kindness, courage, and loyalty for everyone who had met him. And for Lily, she understood that her four-legged friend was much more than just a pet. He was a true companion for life, capable of transforming the daily lives of those around him. As the sun set behind the trees, Max and Lily sat side by side on the park bench, watching the shadows lengthen. They both knew that together they could face any obstacle and continue to spread a little light and kindness around them. Spring had returned, bringing with it longer, warmer days. Lily and her family's garden flourished, as did the relationship between her and Max. The little brown dog was no longer the same one who had been ignored at the shelter. He was now confident, joyful, and full of love, loyal to Lily and protective of everyone he met. One Saturday morning, the neighborhood held a party for children and their pets. All the neighbors gathered, and Max attracted attention as soon as he arrived. The children greeted him excitedly, recalling stories of his brave actions and his kindness toward animals in danger. Max, humble but proud, let himself be petted and played with the little ones, his eyes sparkling with happiness. During the party, an unexpected event occurred. A small dog belonging to a neighbor slipped into a pond and began to struggle. Without hesitation, Max dove into the water with surprising speed and agility for his size. He grabbed the dog by the collar and guided it to the bank, to the awestruck applause of children and adults alike. Lily, moved, ran to him and hugged him tightly. "You're amazing, Max, always there to help others, even when things get tough," she murmured. Max rested his head on her shoulder, content and satisfied. That moment sealed their bond forever, a relationship built on love, trust, and mutual respect. At the end of the day, as the sun set, Lily and Max sat in the garden, watching the warm colors of the sky. The little girl gently stroked her friend and said, "I'm so happy you're in my life, Max. You've changed my life as much as I've changed mine for you." Max wagged his tail, happy to know he had finally found his home and family. Max, the neglected dog at the shelter, had transformed his sadness into courage and love. Thanks to a simple act of kindness from a little girl, he had discovered joy, security, and happiness. Together, Lily and Max had proven that even the loneliest lives could find light, and that sometimes, an unexpected encounter could change everything. As they stood there, side by side, a certainty resonated in their hearts. no matter what life threw their way, they would always be together, united by an unbreakable bond, ready to face each new adventure, hand in hand, forever.